The problem, Syed Zafar Islam, if this is happening in Bihar, it happened in the center and that time it was in your favor, is that it could happen elsewhere too. So the whole idea that you need to build a social coalition where you have more communities on your side versus your opponent's coalition, that idea could change, because the youth, it seems, doesn't care about caste affinity, at least according to the post-poll study, in the way that their fathers and grandfathers and mothers and grandmothers did.
Well, Rahul, we have seen a very strong connect of youth with the Honorable Prime Minister, and in the same state we had won during general election out of 243 assembly constituencies, around 223 constituencies where we had lead over our opposition. But since the indications, whatever the exit poll indications being indicated that the RJD and Mahagathbandhan is likely to emerge as a winner, which we strongly contradict at this point in time, purely because we have feedback mechanism, and based on our feedback mechanism, whatever feedback we have, we anticipate a very different picture than what is being projected. Having said that, I do not want to comment on the exit poll numbers, because it is the methodology each agencies have adopted, and their service samples they have and they have surveyed it. So whatever it may be, assuming for a moment that it is true, so obviously we'll have to see whether the youth has migrated in this particular election to, and voted for a youth.
In many ways, Supriya Shrinath, if this is happening, it's a good thing, because instead of the traditional formula where no matter how your candidate has done, no matter what you think of the performance of the government, you typically vote for a candidate from your caste because he's your community cousin. This is much better. You look at the performance of the government and you decide on objective terms whether you believe they've done enough for you or not, and then decide who you want to vote for. The older generation in that poll, 60 plus, 51 to 60, 36 to 50 may not have done it, the youngers have. The counter to this though, Supriya, is that the younger generation didn't live through Jungle Raj of Lalu Yadav, which is why they're okay with Tejaswi. The older generation saw the horrors of Lalu Yadav's reign, which is why they don't want to touch you with a barge pole.
I think the youth sees hope, they see an opportunity, and they see somebody who's championing their cause. I will say one thing, and the one thing is that Bihar has perhaps started the surge of youth mobilization. We will see it all across India, and I don't see this as a youth issue. I see it as an issue that pertains to the youth, and the biggest issue that the youth is going through in the country right now is joblessness. They do not trust the BJP. They did not trust Mr. Nitish Kumar with job creation, and which is why they decided to vote for a person or vote for a Mahagathbandhan where they see hope. You know, in Hindi there is a very popular line which says, "Talwaron ki dhar par इतिहास हमेशा बनता है, जिस ओर जवानी चलती है उस ओर जमाना चलता है." The youth of this, we are a young nation. We cannot box the vote of youth as just one issue. This is a beginning.
In a good mood already. She's quoting poetry.
I anticipate this to be a nationwide trend.
Zafar Saab, if this continues, it's problematic, because it suggests that at least in Bihar, the youth believed in the promises that were held out by Tejaswi Yadav and Sunil Singh. They didn't believe what Nitish Kumar was saying. This whole, you imagine that if you've got Prime Minister Modi on the NDA ticket, that they'd feel stronger. You've got the administrative experience of Nitish Kumar, that the youth would feel that their interests would be better taken care of in comparison with the young and inexperienced Tejaswi Yadav. But Tejaswi seemed, according to our post-poll data, far more believable.
And the youths are backbone of the society, and youths were always been an important factor in electoral politics. But we know that the youth are on our sides because of the educational institutions that have come to Bihar in Nitish Kumar regime. You talk about IIT, you talk about NM, you talk about CNLU, medical colleges increased, nursing colleges, paramedical colleges. So the colleges, the technical colleges and all the colleges have increased in the regime of Nitish Kumar. So youths are with us. And moreover, the youth, the student credit card is there. The Nitish Kumar has promised a waiver of education loans which were more practical for the appealing to the youth. And one thing I can tell you, for the youth, they cannot change their stance in 1 year. If they were fan of Modi, they were Modi and Nitish Kumar in 2019, they have to be a fan of Modi and Nitish Kumar in 2020 also. And second thing,
You are taking the youth then for granted. That's the problem. I'm challenging and questioning the way you think, Sunil, saying, because you're imagining that because they voted for you earlier, they'll vote for you again. That clearly the data says is not the case. You will be judged on a case-by-case basis. They liked what Prime Minister Modi did at the centre. They backed the BJP NDA again. They didn't like what your Chief Minister did in Bihar, and they may be showing him the exit door.
I don't agree with you. We also had a MY combination that is called Mahila and Yuva. Not that MY which you are talking about, not a caste thing. Nitish Kumar had the solid backing of the youth. We know it. We had our own feedback mechanisms like the Zafar Sahab said. And let me tell you, Tejaswi cannot be an ideal icon for the youth. I don't want to become personal about it.